Imagine you're planning a wedding. Like, invitations are going out.
Oh, yeah.
The dress is being fitted.
Uh-huh.
Everything's ready.
Yeah.
Excitement is in the air.
Right.
Then suddenly, everything changes.
Oh, wow.
That joy and anticipation
Yeah.
turns into unimaginable grief.
Oh, my gosh.
That's the heartbreaking reality for Rachel Glass.
Yeah.
Back in December of 2010, just a few weeks before Christmas, her daughter Nicole was brutally murdered
Oh, no.
in Phoenix, Arizona,
Right.
and she wasn't alone.
Oh.
Nicole's best friend and roommate, Melissa, who went by BB, Mason, was also killed.
Oh, jeez.
And BB was pregnant at the time,
Oh, that's even worse.
a detail that makes this case even more tragic.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's awful.
What's really striking about this case
Yeah.
is the sheer volume of information that's available. I mean, we have police reports, news articles, interviews.
Wow.
It's like peering into a puzzle with all the pieces scattered before you.
Yeah.
Each one offering a glimpse into the lives of these two young women
Okay.
and the events that ultimately led to their deaths.
And yet, despite all this information, the case remains unsolved.
Oh,
It's been over a decade.
long.
And Nicole and BB's families are still desperately searching for answers.
Right.
So we're going to dive deep into this cold case today,
Great.
hoping to shed some light on what happened, maybe even help bring some closure to those who were left behind.
Yeah. Let's start by getting to know Nicole and BB.
Okay.
They were both 27 years old, best friends, roommates.
Okay.
They were known for their vibrant personalities, their love of bartending and socializing,
Right.
and their really open-door policy that made their home a popular gathering spot.
So it sounds like everyone knew and loved these girls.
Yeah, their friends described them as the life of the party.
Wow.
You know, BB was about to become a dental hygienist
Mm-hmm.
and was really excited to start a family.
That's great.
Nicole was working on her communications degree, and had a bright future ahead of her.
It's truly heartbreaking to think of all that potential that was stolen.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the morning of December 3rd, 2010,
Okay.
when a friend of theirs, her name was Melissa.
Okay. Not the victim.
No, not the victim, just to be clear.
Got it.
She stopped by the house and made a horrifying discovery.
Oh, no.
She found Nicole and BB lifeless in their bedrooms.
Wow.
Yeah, it's important to note here
Yeah.
that the police reports indicate there were no signs of forced entry.
Okay.
The scene appeared undisturbed.
So, right from the start, investigators were faced with a perplexing question.
Yeah.
How did the killer get in?
Yeah.
Was it someone they knew? Someone with a key?
That is one of the central mysteries of this case, and it gets
Right.
further complicated by the fact that
Yeah.
the key to the back gate was actually missing.
Mm.
In fact, just the day before the murders,
Okay.
a friend named Jose visited the house and noticed the lock was damaged, and he just went ahead and removed it entirely.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
So the key goes missing,
Yeah.
and then coincidentally, their friend removes the lock.
Right.
That seems a little too convenient for the killer, don't you think?
It certainly raises questions.
Yeah.
Was this just an unfortunate coincidence,
Right.
or was it something more? We'll definitely need to examine Jose's involvement more closely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the people who are on the radar of investigators.
Okay.
Initially, suspicion fell on BB's boyfriend, Maris.
Right.
He was the father of her unborn child.
Uh-huh.
And his reaction to the scene was, understandably, very emotional.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
But his emotional response wasn't the only factor.
Oh, okay.
Police reports indicate that Maris had been seeing other women before learning about BB's pregnancy.
So that obviously put him under scrutiny,
Right.
right? It makes you wonder if maybe he felt trapped
Yeah.
or if there was some sort of conflict that we're not aware of.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
But it's important to note, though, that Maris fully cooperated with the investigation.
Okay.
He provided DNA samples and even traveled to inform BB's mother of her death.
Wow.
While these actions don't rule him out as a suspect,
Right.
they definitely add a layer of complexity to his potential involvement.
Yeah, so we have a missing key,
Right.
a conveniently removed lock,
Uh-huh.
and a boyfriend with a pretty complicated relationship with the victim.
Yeah.
This is already getting pretty intricate.
Yeah, and we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh, why?
Let's delve into the timeline of December 2nd.
Okay.
The day leading up to the murders,
Mm.
there was a floor refinishing crew working at the house that day.
Okay.
Johnny and his siblings, they had access to the property
Yeah.
and would have known Nicole and BB's routines.
So potentially another person of interest
Right.
with a possible motive.
Exactly.
Did they cooperate with the investigation as well?
They did.
Oh.
Each of them provided DNA samples and gave consistent accounts of their whereabouts in the days leading up to the murders.
Of course, as with Maris, their cooperation doesn't definitively rule them out.
Exactly.
It seems like there were a lot of people coming and going from that house.
Yeah.
You know, the police reports mentioned Nicole frequently going to Walmart. But strangely, she never seemed to come back with any bags.
That is interesting.
Do we know anything about that?
That's an intriguing detail.
Yeah.
We don't have any specific answers,
Okay.
but it's a reminder that seemingly insignificant details can
Correct.
sometimes hold crucial clues.
Mm-hmm.
It raises the question, was someone observing their routine?
Right.
Were they being watched?
That's a chilling thought.
It is.
It seems like every piece of information we uncover just leads to more questions.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces just keep shifting.
Right.
And as we'll see, there are even more individuals connected to this case that we need to explore.
All right, well, let's take a quick break,
Okay.
and we'll be right back to do just that.
Sounds good. You know, before we go any further with the suspects,
Yeah,
it's important to stop and remember the victims,
absolutely.
Nicole and BB.
Mm-hmm.
These were two young women with hopes and dreams, aspirations,
Yeah.
people who loved them.
It's easy to get lost in the investigation details. But it's so crucial to remember that at the heart of this case are two lives tragically cut short.
Right.
And one of those lives was about to bring new life into the world.
That's right. BB was pregnant.
Yeah.
Imagine the joy she must have felt
Yeah.
knowing she was carrying a child.
It's so sad.
There's this detail in the police report that always gets to me.
Oh, really?
They found a positive pregnancy test
Wow.
at the crime scene,
Oh, my God.
tucked away in a gift bag with Merry Christmas written on it.
Oh, that's awful.
It seems she was planning to announce her pregnancy to her family during the holidays.
It breaks my heart, you know?
It's just awful.
It's a reminder of the happiness that was stolen,
Right.
the future that was never realized.
Yeah.
It paints this picture of BB as someone who deeply cared about her family
Yeah.
and was excited to share this news with them.
Exactly.
And then we have Nicole.
Right.
She was described as having this magnetic personality, always drawing people in.
Yep. It's clear they both had so much to offer the world.
It's hard to believe we're talking about a triple homicide.
It is.
BB's unborn child was a victim, too.
Yes, that's right.
I can't imagine what their families have gone through.
The ripple effects of this crime are profound.
Yeah.
You know, the families have spent over a decade
Wow.
grappling with the loss, the unanswered questions,
Yeah.
the lack of closure.
I can't even imagine.
They've hired private investigators, explored every single lead,
Right.
and even challenged the police in court to get more information.
Really?
That speaks volumes about their determination
Yeah.
to find justice for Nicole and BB.
It sounds like they haven't given up hope.
No, their perseverance is truly remarkable.
Absolutely.
It's a testament to the power of love
Yeah,
and the enduring need for answers.
I agree.
Speaking of answers,
Yeah.
we were discussing some of the people who came up during the initial investigation.
Right.
We talked about Maris, BB's boyfriend,
Yeah.
and the floor refinishing crew.
Right.
But there were others, right?
Yeah, who else?
Well, another individual of interest
Yeah.
was BB's ex-boyfriend, Frank.
Okay.
He had lived with Nicole and BB at one point
Oh, wow.
and admitted to being uncomfortable with some of the men who frequented their house.
So maybe some jealousy or resentment there?
Possibly.
Yeah.
He also expressed displeasure about BB's pregnancy.
Yeah, so maybe a motive there.
Potentially.
He would have known their routines,
Right.
their schedules.
Yeah.
Maybe even had a copy of that missing back gate key.
Those are all valid points.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that both Maris and Frank independently suggested that Nicole might have been the intended target.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why would they both point the finger at Nicole?
That's a good question.
Is there anything in the source material
Yeah.
to suggest why they would think that?
That's a question investigators have grappled with.
Yeah.
Was it an attempt to deflect suspicion?
Okay.
Or was there something more to Nicole's life that we're not aware of?
You mentioned that the police reports were quite expensive.
Yeah. Incredibly detailed.
Did they find any evidence to support that idea?
There's nothing conclusive in the documents we have.
Okay.
It's one of the many threads in this case that seem to lead to more questions than answers.
It's like we're piecing together a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
But some of the pieces are missing.
Right.
And others don't seem to fit.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
And speaking of missing pieces,
yeah,
let's circle back to the cause of death.
Okay.
Both Nicole and Bibi were strangled,
Yeah.
indicating a very personal and violent attack.
Yeah, for sure.
The police reports also mentioned defensive wounds,
Okay.
suggesting there was a struggle.
Strangulation? That suggests the killer was up close and personal with the victims?
Right.
This wasn't random.
No.
This was someone with rage.
Yeah.
Someone who knew them.
It speaks to a level of anger and intimacy
Yeah.
that is chilling.
Absolutely.
And it's another piece of the puzzle that investigators have tried to use to understand the killer's motive and potential connection to the victims.
So we have this complex web of potential suspects.
Right.
Each with their own connections to the victims, their own possible motives.
Exactly.
And yet, no one has been arrested.
Nope.
The case went cold.
Exactly. And that's where things get even more complicated.
Really?
The sheer number of people in and out of that house,
Yeah.
coupled with the lack of definitive physical evidence,
Right.
created a situation where the investigation just stalled.
You mentioned earlier that the case is considered forensically tapped.
Right.
What does that mean exactly?
Okay. It essentially means that all viable forensic avenues have been exhausted.
Oh, I see.
In this case, there was an abundance of DNA evidence collected.
Okay.
But without a match in the system,
Right.
it doesn't lead to an arrest.
So frustrating.
It's a frustrating reality for investigators and the families.
Yeah, I can imagine
Yeah.
so much potential evidence,
Mm-hmm.
yet it hasn't led to a breakthrough.
Right.
Is there any hope that new technology or techniques could change that?
There's always hope.
Okay,
Forensic science is constantly evolving.
that's true.
What's impossible today could be solvable tomorrow.
Right.
But for now, the investigation remains at a standstill.
It's disheartening,
It is.
but it's also why cases like this need to stay in the public consciousness.
Absolutely.
Someone out there knows something.
Yeah.
Maybe they've forgotten a detail,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they were afraid to come forward at the time.
Could be.
But even the smallest piece of information
Right.
could be the key to cracking this case wide open.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Sometimes all it takes is a fresh perspective,
Mm-hmm.
a new lead
Right.
to reignite an investigation.
I hope so.
And that's where our listeners come in.
I mean, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all this.
Yeah.
A missing key.
Yeah.
A removed lock.
Right.
A web of relationships.
Yeah.
All these potential suspects.
It's a lot to process.
It really is.
It's crucial to take a step back
Mm-hmm.
and consider every angle,
Right.
every little detail, no matter how small.
You mentioned earlier that the smallest piece of information could be crucial.
Exactly.
What would that look like in this case?
Okay, so imagine someone was in Phoenix back in December of 2010,
Okay.
maybe visiting family for the holidays,
Yeah.
or lived there.
Uh-huh.
What if they just happened to be near Nicole and Bibi's neighborhood
Right.
and saw something a little unusual?
Mm.
Anything, like a car that didn't belong,
Yeah.
someone lurking around,
Okay.
or a brief interaction that just seemed off.
Something that at the time they didn't think twice about. Right.
But now, hearing all this, it sparks a memory.
Exactly. Or maybe they knew someone, like a friend, coworker, someone they knew casually
Right.
who had some connection to Nicole or Bibi, maybe even indirectly.
Okay.
And this person, made a comment, shared some gossip,
Yeah.
or acted strange, out of character.
Details that, in isolation, didn't mean much,
Right.
but with everything else, could be important.
Exactly, like adding a missing puzzle piece.
Yeah.
It might not complete the picture,
Right.
but it could show you a new section.
Yeah, a new area to explore.
Exactly.
So even if our listeners didn't know Nicole or Bibi,
Yeah,
they might still hold a piece of this puzzle
that's right. You never know.
without even realizing it.
And that's why it's so important to keep these cold cases alive,
Yeah.
to talk about them, to remind people that
Yeah.
even years later,
Yeah,
memories can be crucial to getting justice.
absolutely. And that brings us back to you, our listeners. What if the answer to all this is something we haven't even considered?
It's possible.
What event or person
Yeah.
holds the key to solving all this?
Right.
Maybe you hold that piece of the puzzle without realizing it.
It could be, don't underestimate your memory.
Right.
Don't let time bury the truth.
Absolutely.
If anything comes to mind, even if it seems small, please reach out to Detective Dom Rostenberg.
Okay.
His number is 602-534-5920.
Okay, we'll be sure to include that information in the show notes as well.
Great.
There's also a $9,000 reward for information leading to an arrest.
That's right.
We've talked about the victims, the suspects, the evidence, but we haven't really discussed what this must be like for the families.
That's right.
To live with these unanswered questions for over a decade. I can't imagine.
The grief, the frustration, the lack of closure.
Yeah.
It's just an awful burden to carry.
It is.
And that's why it's so important that we as a community try to help them find some answers.
Absolutely. Sharing this story.
Right.
Keeping Nicole and Beatty's memories alive.
Right.
It's a form of advocacy in itself.
It is.
It keeps the pressure on.
Yeah.
Reminds the world that they deserve justice.
Exactly.
And reminds potential witnesses that it's never too late to come forward.
That's right.
Even if you weren't in Phoenix back then.
Yeah.
You might know someone who was. So spread the word.
Yeah.
Share this episode.
Right.
Let's work together to bring peace to these families.
I agree.
Sometimes all it takes is one voice, one memory.
Right.
To break the silence and help find justice.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Into the tragic case of Nicole Glass and Melissa Beebe Mason.
It's a tough one.
We hope that together we can help bring them the justice they deserve.
I hope so too.